Hey, June 6th out here at the hop farm in Harrison. Just wanted to show a couple things, some good, the bad, the ugly. So here's one of our canes here, hop vines that we have growing up here on June 6th. I'd say this is an example of a pretty good looking trellised vine on hops growing up there. And one of the things I like about this, you can see we got all the suckers removed from the base, and then we have all four of those strong canes coming in and looking nice that are wrapping up clockwise right around that trellis wire. So this is a really good, and we're keeping all that suckering growth off of the ground there. And so this is an example of what I would say is a real good looking type situation. So real pleased with this and kind of where we want to be this time of year. Have four of those canes up on the trellis. You can see we're pretty thinned out and not a lot of suckering, and so real happy with this situation. And again, just coming up looking at those vines wrapping up around the trellis. We're probably in and around up to 10 feet on that top one. So here's another example here, a little bit more clustered around the crown here, and you can see on the vine itself and going up the trellis, we're not nearly as far. We've just kind of stunted out here at about 3 feet. Not exactly sure why we're stunting here at 3 feet, but you can see that we're stunted here. And then still got a lot of sucker growth to clean out. And so what I'll try to do is just, you got to be real careful when cleaning out some of these suckers and being real meticulous on thinning this to make sure you're not removing anything that is going up the trellis. Okay, so this is kind of an example of one that's just not quite as good, a little bit stunted out. The one next to it here looks a little bit better. You can see as we're coming up, we're at about 4 feet on this on June 6th. And seeing that this is the first year in the field, in the hop yard, not exactly sure where we should be. We don't have a record of where we should be in growth, but I'd say this is maybe a little bit below average. But you can see we're a little bit clustered here and wanted to thin out, but we do have a nice grouping of probably four good stems in there, and I'll need to go in there today and thin out some of those canes. So I'll just do a kind of a panorama around that, but that's sort of what we're dealing with. Could do a little bit of a panorama. Here's another example here of the trellis here. This one's probably at 6 feet. So we have all kinds of different examples. Here's one that is just sort of runted out and not really making much of anything at this point. And so we have a little bit of the good, the bad, the ugly here. Here's again this one right next to it doing quite well, and today we'll just thin these out. These extraneous kind of whip-like branches that aren't up on the trellis at this point, because we have some nice 4 healthy branches already up there on the trellis that'll take the growth for this year. So everything else will be thinning out and trying to direct all that growth up on the trellis. So that's what I'll be working on today, is thinning out this excess growth. And again, I'll just do a panorama through here today. You can kind of see definitely some differences in varieties out here. You can see this variety in the background is a little bit more chlorotic. possibly an iron deficiency. We'd have to do some tissue samples there, but you can see this variety in the middle is some of our more vigorous vine, and the variety behind me that I'm kind of working on here is showing some of our least vigorous growth, but we do have some examples in here that look quite strong as well. So we kind of run the gamut in here, but today I'm just going through on June 6th, trying to thin out some of this excess vigorous growth. You can see here is kind of a cluster or a clump that I'm working through, making sure I got 3 to 4 healthy stems on that trellis, thinning everything else down. And you can see those there. We got one real healthy one on there, 2 or 3 down here in the middle section, and then I'll probably leave 1 or 2 here at the base to make sure that I have something to get up on there next week. Okay, with that, that's going to conclude, but I'll go ahead and thin this out, and June 6th here in the hop yard. All right, thanks for watching.